Alex, so welcome back to another video. Today I'm bringing you my March TBR. In the month of March, I don't have a huge amount of plans. I have a couple of obligation reads, I have my spinner wheel, and I have one mood read, which is not like me. I'm not normally much of a mood reader, but you will see why when we get to it. We're going to start out with the obligation reads. They're books that are parts of series that I am slowly trying to work my way throughout the year. The first of which being The Song of Susanna by Stephen King. This is the 6th book in the Dark Tower series, which I've been working my way through since late 2024. This is the penultimate book in the series. I do have this oddly illustrated version of it, which I got from a charity shop and is falling apart. But it's got illustrations in it, which is interesting. I am not really loving this series, but I am reading it because my husband read it and really wants to talk to someone about it. As a long-suffering spouse of a bookworm who is forced to read more than they probably would on their own accord, it seemed only right that when there is a series that he wants to chat about, even though he didn't also love it, he just wants to chat about it, that I should chip in. So I am hopefully going to be finishing this series out soon, and then I will be done with it and you'll not have to listen to me talk about it anymore. The other book that, because I still have a week left of February at the point of filming this, because I have relatives visiting and my kids are off school the last week of February, so it's really hard to film. So I'm filming this a bit early, so this might already get read in February, but if not, it's rolling over into March, and that is Dead House Gates by Stephen Erickson. This one is the second book in the Malazan Book of the Fallen series, and I am working my way through it slowly. I'm hoping to read a few of them this year. Again, I am hoping that this will be read in February, in which case I could technically put the third book on this TBR. I don't know yet because it's such a big book and it's only like the last week of February isn't a full week, so we'll see if I have time, but that's the plan. And then as for mood read, I have one mood read which again is unlike me, but I bought this recently and can't resist, and that is Pride, Prejudice in Space by Alexis Lampley. Alexis Lampley is the creator of The Nerdy Inc., which is a company, a bookish art company. This is an illustrated retelling of Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, but set in space, as is evident by the title. There's not really much more to it. It's just, I absolutely love reading Pride and Prejudice retellings. It's like a whole separate pastime of mine. So I picked this one up and I am absolutely dying to read it. So it's going on the TBR. In a similar vein to that, my spinner wheel for the month of March is going to be Jane Austen themed, specifically Pride and Prejudice retellings. For those of you who don't know, I have a vlog project that I am doing once a month in which I have a spinner wheel pick my reads. I have 3 different pots to choose from. The first pot is going to be contemporary retellings, so obviously you think Bridget Jones. Not going to include Bridget Jones because I tried that last time I did a Jane Austen thing and it didn't go well, but other contemporary retellings of Pride and Prejudice. Then in the second pot I am going to have reimaginings or continuations, so set in the same time period. So for example, I have one that is a reimagining that is the exact same story, it's just that it is queer, but it is still set in Regency England. I have another one that is following one of Elizabeth's sisters after the events of Pride and Prejudice, and then I have one, for example, that is if Elizabeth had accepted Darcy's first proposal instead of his second proposal, how that would have changed their relationship, for example. Those are some examples. So they're all set during the time period in which the original Pride and Prejudice was also set. And then the last part is fantasy retellings. For example, Mr. Darcy's Dragons series or Miss Bennet's Dragons. There are lots of fantasy Pride and Prejudice retellings. So I'm very excited about my spinner wheel. I'm very excited to be getting to that. So now let's go with the jars. So for those of you who don't know, I have 2 jars. The first one is my series jar where I pull one from here and I read that series in its entirety. So these are series specifically that I own entirely and want to binge. And the other jar is my miscellaneous jar, which is books that are either standalones, books that are out of my comfort zone, or books in series that I am not planning on binge reading. The way I select from here is that I roll a 4-sided dice and that tells me how many I need to pull from the miscellaneous jar. So we'll start with that one first. How many books are we pulling? And we got, what did we get? Oh, we've got a 1. On the month where I'm not doing very much, we've got a 1. Okay, fantastic. I will go pull one out of here then. Let's rummage. I'm going to go quite deep down. I don't know why. What have we got at the bottom here? We have... Ooh, what are you? Are you the right way up? They're never the right way up. What are you? Oh, Perilous Times by Thomas Daly. Okay, this one is an Arthurian legend retelling, and I believe that it is an eco or environmental fantasy, so it's, you know, heavily linked to environmentalism. The only criticisms that I have heard is that people didn't like that it had so much environmental content, which somewhat defeats the object to me of picking up environmental fantasy. I'm sure there are people with other completely reasonable criticisms. It just seemed like an odd criticism to hear so much of. But I am excited to give it a go and, you know, have a different take on Arthurian legend. So hopefully I will enjoy this one. And now we're going to get into my series jar. All right, series jar time. We have a bit of a mix up, shall we? What are you? I don't know if it's the right way up. I don't know if you can see it. Are you the right way up? It doesn't look like it's the right way up. There we go. We have Empire of the Wolf by Richard Swan. All right, cool. I can get behind that. I think I only got this for Christmas, so it's quite a recent edition. All right, let's go get that. All right, so we have Empire of the Wolf by Richard Swan, which consists of The Justice of Kings, The Tyranny of Faith, and The Trials of Empire. This one, I believe, is a story in which we are following Sir Conrad von Volt, who is a King's Justice, and he is therefore detective, judge, and executioner all in one, and he travels around the Empire to ensure the King's justice. And as far as I'm aware, it is followed from the perspective of his apprentice or assistant, who is telling it from the future with hindsight. The author of this is a lawyer, so I believe that it is kind of a fantasy analysis or even criticism of the justice system. So I'm very excited to see how this one pans out in a fantasy setting. I also believe that this one has necromancy, which I am always very excited to see more books with necromancy, and I believe it's necromancy with consequences. I absolutely love a magic system that has consequences. I always think that it's a really good way of making sure that you can't just MacGuffin your way out of everything. So I'm very excited to see how I feel about this one. I have heard good things. And there you have it. That's my TBR. It's a very short TBR. It's a very small one. I mean, looking at it, it doesn't look that small, but here, I'll show you. It's not the smallest, but it's definitely nowhere near the biggest that I've had. But obviously, this is discounting the fact that there is going to be a week in the month where I'm not reading any of these because I'm reading my Jane Austen retellings from my spinner wheel. But nonetheless, I think this is going to be a really good time. So I'm very excited for all of these apart from Song of Susanna, because that one I am only reading because I have agreed to. But the rest of it, I'm really excited for. Quantity and quality balance that I'm really liking. I've got room for mood reading if I want to. I don't know if I'll mood read or just pull more things out the jar. We shall see. The world is my oyster. So we'll see how this goes, and I will hopefully have a good month. Let me know what you're looking forward to reading to in March. What are your TBR plans? Let me know if you've read any of these and your thoughts on them. But that is all from me for today. So thank you ever so much for watching, and I'll hopefully catch you in another one soon.